Well, the rise of construction mafia and extortionists has become a challenge in South Africa, risking economic growth and many infrastructure projects not being completed or abandoned due to the high levels of criminal acts. The latest involves allegations of an almost 550 million rand rehabilitation project of the Golden Highway in Johannesburg, which was halted due to alleged intimidation, extortions and assault cases in what has been described as construction mafia disguised as business forums. Now, last year, the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development presented to Parliament's National Council of Provinces its comprehensive approach plan to tackle this crime. But what's happened since then? Well, we've got the MEC, Gauteng MEC for the Department of Infrastructure, in studio with us to address some of these questions. Jacob Mamabolo. MEC, thank you. We really do appreciate you coming into studio this morning.
Let me greet you and all the viewers and thank you very much for inviting us.
Absolute pleasure. MEC, you presented Gauteng's comprehensive approach to tackling crime, as I mentioned, such as the one involving the construction mafia, to Parliament's National Council of Provinces. What's happened? Because clearly there's not, this is a bad incident that has happened, but what's going on with this?
So maybe let me start by saying that, the importance of infrastructure delivery to grow the economy, to create jobs, to improve the quality of lives of the people as requested by our country's constitution remains very, very important. And there's both national and global consensus about what infrastructure can do. So any disruption of infrastructure delivery, any acts of criminality, people parading themselves, masquerading themselves as business people, when actually what we're dealing with are acts of criminality, should be strongly condemned. And I think we should call on communities as well to be very vigilant in protecting their spaces to make sure that we can deliver productive assets to them. But what is very remarkable, and which I think we must really appreciate, is that the rest of government, the three spheres of government, national, province, and the municipalities. You may also recall in Durban, through the National Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, there was a conference, but what we have since seen is government working together, the three spheres of government, law enforcement, including creating dedicated capacity in the state within law enforcement agencies to deal decisively with this issue. And what we have seen is, of course, this case, while noting it, but what we are also seeing, and our statistics in the province demonstrate that, is that we are seeing, a gradual decline in the total number of some of the projects that are actually being affected by these syndicates and criminal acts. So for that, as a province, we must commend the rest of government, the three spheres of government, integrated law enforcement, to crack on this issue. Yeah. However, we still have some of the cases where, we are seeing people making those demands, disrupting projects. But I must say to you and the viewers that one of the other issues that we're starting to see, which is very worrying, is a poor financial performance in infrastructure projects over and above, this type of conduct. So the delivery of projects remain in a much more riskier position. What is good, though, is that we're seeing government put in a lot of money. Just last week in Cape Town, there was an infrastructure symposium where huge amounts of money were announced.
Okay.
But I think the challenge is, whilst we are tackling very decisively, and the coordination, the integration, the issue of extortion and the construction mafia. But I think on the other hand,
I want to
overall
ask you,
performance.
And I understand that you need to talk to us about some of the positives, but I want to focus on what's going on. I mean, this is a massive project, this Golden Highway project, which is desperately needed. When we read some of the affidavits that were filed in the Pretoria High Court, Lone Rock reported their employees were shot at, pistol whipped, threatened with murder, repeatedly blocked from entering this Golden Highway site. These incidents spanned from March to April. Why is there extreme violence? Why is it allowed? It's basically unchecked. I mean, I can't think of another way to describe this, that this is allowed to be unchecked, that these guys are going in there and creating havoc.
Can I just take a slightly different approach, that, it is not that it is being allowed to happen. I plead to hold a different view on that.
Were the SAPS there?
Yeah.
Were the crime operations there to stop it while it was happening?
Yeah, and that it's going unchecked. Let me assure you that whilst I acknowledge the enormity of the problem, the complexity of the task, and of course the evidence coming out of this particular case, but I'd like to emphasize that that national government and ourselves as province, including municipalities, are working on this issue. It doesn't mean, for example, in this particular case, we have been able to deal with the matter in relation to what you raised. So it remains a problem. Yeah. We do accept that. That is why the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure called even a much more dedicated conversation, dialogue, to discuss this issue, to plan around how to deal with this issue. And that is precisely because the issue is quite complex and the issue is quite big. But that shouldn't lead us to conclude that it's unchecked. Is being allowed to happen.
It's worrisome.
Absolutely.
We agree. And so, you know, I suppose I'll have to wait to see if the police or any other law enforcement were there at that time to try and control the situation. However, what's even bigger, and I know you say this is a very complex issue, which it is, because when we start hearing court papers revealing that local taxi associations and ward councillors are involved in this, and we'll get into the specific ward councillor who, to be honest, from reading his past, shouldn't be in this position in the first place. They instructed police to leave the site. This is a very deep nexus. I mean, the taxi associations involved in this, your ward councillor. I mean, these civic entities and local government structures, how are they being infiltrated like this?
So let me just say I've had an opportunity at some point to be the MEC of Roads and Transport, and I've worked with the taxi industry. I've seen some of these things, violence, how it's happening. So it is true that in most instances, when syndicates and criminals plot and plan some of these things, of course, they go get, killers and gabbies in the hostels, in the taxi industry. But in a nutshell, two things are important. One is that these are acts of criminality.
Indeed.
Number two is that we should, at all material times, uphold the principle of the rule of law and confidence in our law enforcement officers. And whatever the difficulty, whatever the dilemma, I think it's important to say that we remain confident that even this matter, the arm of the law will get to the bottom of this, and as MEC of COCTA as well, doing oversight on municipalities, we will also get to the matter of the councillor that is allegedly involved. But the principles of the rule of law are very important, and confidence in law enforcement. So we will deal with this matter, go to the bottom of it. It may take long, it may appear unchecked, it may appear, being allowed to happen. Police were not physically there. But I can assure you, with the progress we are seeing on some of the reduction in the total number of cases, we have got a technological solution here, our IDEP infrastructure delivery platform, where we check statistics of where our infrastructure projects are. Those affected by cash flow, those affected by supply chain, poor performance, and we check those that are affected by disruptions. So we do see statistically that there is a gradual decline in the province. However, cases like this, it doesn't mean completely eliminated. So the entire machinery of the state is mobilized, dedicated towards this issue. But we have not completely dealt with it. Yeah. And I can assure you the might of the law might take longer to get to the bottom of this, but it definitely will.
But MEC, I'm not understanding, because you have got basically ward councillors that are in positions that you know of, taxi bosses that are demanding police leave scenes and they're not allowed to be involved. You have got a ward that is led by somebody called Sitombiso Zungu, who has previously been accused of extortion during a housing development near Lenasia South, where a contractor obtained a protection order against him and two of his accused. So he did spend 2 months in jail for defying that order, but he's back and he seems more powerful and he's in this position. you know who they are and who are the taxi bosses. So I know that you're working and you're saying the cases may be becoming less, but the people are there for you to identify, to go in and do something. How can someone like this be a ward councillor? And this is the second time it's happening, if not more.
I really think that one should make this point and emphasize it, that at the end, this is a criminal case, and we should leave this matter in the good hands of our law enforcement officer, in the hands of the entire criminal justice system. They will deal with the matter. And I'm quite confident that this matter we will see the full might of the law unleashed on this case. I'm, however, agreeing with you that because as it stands now, it looks like, the law enforcement process has not as yet get its full hand on this matter. It may create those impressions. I do concede that. But I'm saying to you, that is not a basis, and it will come nowhere closer to even beginning to doubt whether our law enforcement agencies will prevail over this issue. We have seen more complex cases. I want to assure the people of the province that the capacity of the state is dealing with this matter, and even this one, the law, at the end of the day, the law will prevail on this issue. The rule of law, our constitutional legal system will prevail on the issue. Yeah. And we're quite confident about that.
Yeah, indeed. I mean,
it will happen.
It's very difficult to leave this here. 8 incidents of harassment logged in March, another 4 in April. And, we get to a point where this is still ongoing. It's very hard. I'm loath to wrap, but I have to end the interview, unfortunately. But we've got to get you back when we start seeing things happening, because this is a very difficult situation where it's impacting schools, it's impacting roads, its impacts in the province. I'm only focusing on Gauteng.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
desperately needs construction. It desperately needs to move ahead, and yet it's not. And this is a big problem because of construction mafias. MEC, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being with us.
Yes, thank you very much. But the matter is in the good hands of the police, and we'll get over it. I'm quite sure about that.
All right, that was the Gauteng MEC for the Department of Infrastructure Development, Jacob Mamabolo, talking to us about interventions being made to fight against the construction mafia, criminal acts impacting the province's infrastructure project plans.